Tennessee football has to make some moves in the transfer portal, and frankly, it has to happen soon. 3 days into this window, and Tennessee has just one commitment. Just one. But the good news is they have several visitors on campus this week, so the opportunity is there, and Josh Heupel needs to seize the moment. Let's talk about it. I'm Paige Dauer. This is the Sports Page. Right now, Tennessee has some serious ground to make up in the transfer portal. I'd even argue that the beginning of this week is the most important stretch of the entire cycle, because this is where you set the tone for the rest of the transfer portal window. And you even have more pressure on you if you're Tennessee, because you had a quiet first 72 hours of the transfer portal where you saw just one commitment. If they can sign one or two of the targets that are on campus this week, it sets the tone because it tells other portal players that Tennessee and Rocky Top, it's the place to be. They have the facilities, they have the coaching, they have the culture. This is a place where players believe that they can win, and maybe even the NIL value can start to play a factor because Tennessee's already made the gamble when it comes to NIL evaluation of its current players to not pay them, i.e. Lance Hurd, i.e. Ricky Gibson. They weren't going to be held hostage, let's say, in a couple of these negotiations, and they evaluated that what they wanted they weren't worth. You now need to have some surefire commitments because you made that gamble that these players that are a known entity aren't worth what they were asking for. You now need to go out and absolutely replace that kind of production that you were almost guaranteed with those players that you let walk. And I think with several of the players that are on campus this week, if they can get them, then they make up for letting a couple players walk here in the beginning part of the transfer portal window. The one commitment that Tennessee does have is Quay Moss. He's rated the number 27th safety in this portal class, according to 24/7 Sports. And I think it's a great get for Tennessee. I was going back and watching some of his film, and, not everything that he does, splashes on the page, but his game against UCF highlights the kind of player that he can be in the orange and white, because it was a one-on-one matchup down the boundary against UCF, and the wide receiver all but has control of the football. But Quay Moss gets his hands in there and absolutely rips the ball out, stays in bounds, and gets the interception. Afterwards, I was reading an article from the Wichita Eagle where Kansas State's head coach just talked about and praised Quay Moss' hands. He has great ball skills. He's a violent player. He's an aggressive, attacking kind of player. Tennessee needed that out of a safety position, especially when you consider what they're losing. Also, a quick programming note, Live Ball's returning for Season 2, this time covering Tennessee basketball, and I'll be joined by a couple of fan favorite VFLs and Jerron Mayman and John Fulkerson throughout the season. You will certainly want to tune in every Friday at noon. You could watch us here on YouTube, any of the social media platforms, or join us at Harper Volkswagen here in January and February to talk all things Tennessee basketball. All right, back to the program. But here's the issue. That's one player in and roughly 15 to 16 key contributors out. I know there's a couple of more, but if we just keep it on the starter and key player perspective, it's about 16 players. The good note is they have high caliber players on campus. They've at least been able to do that much, and that's a good sign for what maybe could happen for Tennessee later today and this week. So by the timing of this recording around 10 a.m. this morning, what they do have coming this week today, you could start with corner Jack White. He's from Troy. 24/7 Sports has him listed as the 28th corner in this portal. He's 6'1", 190 pounds. What stands out to me is his 11 pass breakups. That's some kind of, physicality and effort-based play and IQ that you want out of that corner position. Because again, like you mentioned, the three key starters that they're losing from Ricky Gibson, Jermon McCoy, and Colton Hood heading into the 2026 season. All they really have and starting is Ty Redmond. Then you can go to Chaz Coleman. These next two players are incredibly important for Tennessee to get because of what it signals and points to what I started this entire show with. Chaz Coleman, he's a Penn State edge rusher. He's the number one edge in this portal, according to 24/7 Sports, 5th overall player in this cycle. He has As a true freshman, 8 tackles, 3 for a loss, a forced fumble, and 1 recovery against Ohio State. What's nice about him is he has some good size to him. He's 6'4", about 240 pounds. The next guy is another Penn State teammate, and you need him in Xavier Gilliam. He's ranked 3rd in his position in the portal. He's a redshirt freshman. He appeared in every game for Penn State with a couple of starts. Getting those 2 guys, and maybe let's just go with Chaz Coleman, it signals that Jim Knowles and Anthony Poindexter are coaches worth playing for, that they know what they're doing, reinforces every positive thing that we know about both of those coaches and why it was such a slam dunk hires by Josh Heupel. You need to be able to get in your past players that are quality players to maybe kind of follow you to your next stop. I think this would be and will probably go a long way if Tennessee is able to sign both of those guys. Those are the 2 that I really like the most. Mateen Ibirogba is another guy worth noting. He comes from Wake Forest. 24/7 Sports ranks him as the #1 defensive lineman in the portal. And how many guys did I mention that Tennessee's losing off the line? This could be huge. He also comes with good size, 6'3", 296. They really need that length on the interior. He does have some good experience. He played 6 games, had 13 tackles, a trio of tackles for loss, but he also has some other key visitations listed. I'm seeing Notre Dame and Texas Tech as other places he's visiting. Texas Tech also has a ton of pool when it comes to NIL money, so that would be something to look out for. I think they could be a real contender here, yet nothing has happened, and it's been several days when it comes to the Texas Tech perspective. Into the offensive side of the ball, because it's now worth noting. Like a couple days ago, I wasn't necessarily worried about the offense, but now that you're without your starting and reserve center, you're starting in reserve left tackle, and you still have a ton of uncertainty around your quarterback, like the temperature is rising just slightly. I'm obviously still worried about defense just because of the sheer volume of what they're losing on the defensive side of the ball. But they do have an offensive tackle coming in this week, and Ori Williams. He comes from LSU. He's a redshirt freshman, and he's massive. He's 6'8", like 300 pounds. In the portal, 24/7 Sports ranks him 27th in his position. But what's nice, though, is, talking about the upside of players, and in his bio at LSU, the Tigers talk about how, he's like this massive lineman who improves every practice and every workout. And what I thought was interesting is that for this guy who has a high ceiling and proves to be someone who works hard, he only played 2 seasons of high school football before becoming a top prospect out of the high school ranks. So that's something certainly worth noting, but we'll certainly have our attention on all things Tennessee football this week, as hopefully they can make up some good ground here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to set the right tone for what the rest of the cycle will look like. But we'll be back later this week for more on Tennessee football. And don't forget, live ball, it returns for season 2, this time on Tennessee basketball. You'll want to join us at noon at Harper Volkswagen. You can watch here or on any of the social media platforms. And we're so excited to get that started, and we'll have so much more information coming up on that later this week.